I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order for the special called meeting for budget hearings. If you'll call roll, Ms. Salter.
Okay, special call finance budget committee meeting on September the 14th. Dr. Jones?
Here.
Counselor Gwaltney?
Here.
Counselor Allamon? Is he on Zoom? I don't think
Brian,
so.
is anyone on Zoom?
Yeah, Nick is, but I haven't seen Carlos yet.
Who is?
I think he
Nick.
said Nick.
Nick Sims is?
I think so. I think that's what
All
he
right,
said.
so Counselor Smith
Here.
and Counselor Harden.
Here.
So you have 4 present, none on Zoom. So
Well, no, I think you said Counselor Allamon is on.
No,
Nick
Nick
Sims.
Nick Sims is on.
Just Nick, okay.
Yeah, just Nick right now. I'll let you know if Carlos joins.
Right,
Hey,
okay.
and hey, Brian, do you mind just for the record, if any other council people join us, can you let me know? I just notate all the council that are present if we're not on finance.
I will, yes.
Thank you, sir.
All right, wonderful. So we're, the approval of the minutes, we're going to need to carry that over until the next meeting. We don't have those all prepared. And what we're going to do tonight, and kind of as we've looked at our schedule for the week, we did not get finished with capital at our last meeting. We did go over all of the projects, so I appreciate everyone contributing to the discussion on that. So we're going to try to get through all of capital, but I don't know that we will get to employee funding matters until Thursday. We just have, there are too many, tonight is actually, I have to say, and people say I'm kind of crazy, but I really enjoy the meeting tonight because I learned so many things about what the requests are from the department heads. And I want to encourage everyone, if you see something in the budget that you don't know, just ask, and I'm sure one of the chiefs or one of the department heads will tell you exactly what that is, because that's really our job, is to learn more about what the capital requests are and what is needed, because it tells a lot about where our priorities are as a city, and it also talks about how much we value public safety. And I think this is one of my favorite nights. So we're gonna jump in. So again, if we might not get to employee funding matters tonight, so I just want to make that clear. But we will meet Thursday, currently at 4.
Which may change.
Which may change the parade. Yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do is behind tab 9 is our capital requests. And so we have, we've moved over to page, let's see here, page
And can I ask a quick question?
6. Sure.
The capital projects that we've moved to that other fund, the ARPA money, or I can't remember if it's the ARPA money or the refund, the bond refund money. Are we going to discuss those as part of the thing, or since that's a separate fund?
I think that's going to be, if we have time, we can talk about it, because
Okay.
there are some interrelations between the capital request
Right.
in the capital budget and then if it's coming from other areas. So we'll mention that.
Okay.
But we'll handle that more with the other funds
Okay.
that we're going to be.
Okay.
Counselor Smith, I
Yes.
just understand. Really, as far as the capital construction on the ARPA, the main things we were limited to, other than the pay that y'all just approved last night, were anything to do with an ADM type project. So a lot of the creek walls, that kind of stuff that would normally been in 1211, but the things like the Diamond Interchange and just regular old projects were more the 26 fund. That was the difference, because the ARPA was, the ARPA money was more speaking to stormwater type, ADM type projects.
All the stormwater things and
Creek
and like you said, the creek walls
Mhm.
and those kind of things are going
It's
to
in
move
Fund
to.
2 for ARPA, but just
Okay.
regular old projects that we had going that we needed to use that tax-free money would be in 26. I just want to let you know in your mind that's the
Yeah,
discussion why.
perfect. No, that's exactly what I was needing to know. Oh, and there's Mr. Alamon, by the
Yeah,
way.
let the record reflect. We have a,
That's all mine's in the house.
yeah, we have a full house, so great. You didn't miss anything. No, no. Okay, so we will start on, behind tab 9, we will start just kind of mentioning this on page 7, just to refresh everyone's memory about, we do have, typically we have 200,000 in small infrastructure. But we've got 150 here because the other 50 is in Berkeley's department. So I just wanted to mention that it is going to be 200, but we just split it between engineering and zoning and Berkeley's department. So everyone good there? Okay.
What, do you have a slide on here? So on page 6, it says small infrastructure. Oh, no, okay, I see, never mind.
So we got a current budget of 200,000.
Yeah, and I see now,
Yeah,
now
we
for
took it out
2021,
of,
I got
yeah, on
it.
page 6.
Yeah, okay,
We
I
took
see.
it out and the, and we moved it over here.
Yeah, I
into
got it.
13.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it's the same amount of money, it's just split into 2 different places.
And that has all to do with the bond money and the, we're moving that because we can utilize the other money for it besides our budget.
It's just
I
because
don't think
Berkeley,
so.
Berkeley ended up using some of that small infrastructure money anyway.
yeah, we,
Yeah, so
we,
we just gave it to Berkeley for now.
yeah, no, this isn't bond related.
this
It's
isn't
really,
bond related.
it's really related to Berkeley having the flexibility to have that in his budget because he's been working on creek walls, been doing a lot of work on the infrastructure. So yeah, so just split it between those for more efficiency, right, Mayor? Okay. Okay.
It gives Berkeley not to have to ask us if we could do a purchase order out of Kale's budget.
All right.
And can I ask, just clarify one thing?
Sure.
The engineering for sidewalks and other projects, that, I thought I saw that somewhere else, because I missed the last capital meeting. That, this doesn't include any engineering for sidewalks, is that correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Just want to make sure.
Yep. Yep, okay. So now, Chief Ross, are you here?
No, I'm here, sir.
Oh, good, okay. Oh, you're here.
Better looking guy here.
Okay.
Guys,
Looking at page 8, the capital project requests for the police department. And this, again, is where I think we can learn a lot. Looking at this, it looks like the vehicles for the the cameras for the vehicles, you got 51. How many patrol vehicles do we have now in the fleet? Do you know?
probably that amount, close to it.
So do we not, I thought we already had cameras in some of the vehicles. Is that not the case?
The cameras will not be compatible, are no longer compatible with the change in software that the city did.
Yeah.
That's why we had to change.
Okay, so the
software.
51 here that's been budgeted would replace any of the cameras that were in there due to the
Yes,
software
sir.
upgrade and all
Yeah,
that?
and I think that's what Chief Ross told
Yes,
us
sir.
the other night, is
Yeah.
that they had to completely get new cameras because
The company,
that other contract wasn't gonna,
right, the cameras that are in the cars right now will not jibe anymore. They're just out of date, and they will not upgrade, unfortunately.
Got it,
And the
okay.
cost of upgrading was not smart.
Okay, and then how many body cameras are part of this? There was only, it showed as one, but I know that's not right.
No, sir. I believe it's 24, should be in there.
There's one for $52,000 listed.
I mean, that's a really great.
That's a
body
heck of a
camera.
body
Is that one
camera.
for you? That one's for you, isn't it?
I do know this, sir, it will outfit everybody in patrol and allow 6 additional for anybody like a detective that might need one, anybody else. So everybody will have an assigned body camera now. Right now, what happens is they have to come in, share, download, retake out, blah, 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 right? And this will get everybody a body camera that's in patrol, in uniform, including motor scouts and everybody.
Okay. And then the LPR, that's the license plate reader.
Yes, sir.
So how many more are we getting in that line item.
Okay.
And- 'cause
You have to
we-
give
we
me
had-
one
we
second,
thought-
because I've got to get to where the chief had this in the book also.
That's the annual fee for the software, I believe.
The 18,000?
Because the readers are
Oh, I
already
thought
installed,
we
right?
paid per,
No.
we paid per.
We have a certain amount of LPRs right now. We have mobile LPRs. Now, there's a difference in, also if we're talking about the flock camera system, that is a different system, excuse me, but the LPRs, that is a fee that we get to pay, 21, 22, get my classes on.
And those have been very effective.
The flock camera system's outstanding.
Yep.
It really is. The LPRs are also. It's just, they're mobile, and the flock is stationary.
Right.
What is the flock, where are those?
We're gonna be putting those, we don't have those out obviously right now. We did have a demo period where we had them out and put them in some strategic areas.
Yeah.
We don't like to tell everybody where they're at, but they will be in particular areas at choke points where people may be doing some crime in our city or fleeing out of our city, per se. Where we could get vehicle description, tag, all sorts of stuff. The flock system is searchable. It is an outstanding system. We had it for a while. We had many, many hits, and it also integrates us into countywide, statewide. We can use any camera in the system, anywhere around, and they can use ours. So it is,
Birmingham was looking for somebody that they knew could come.
yes.
Use our
In fact,
camera.
it's recently been done on that, and then for us on that particular, we had a particular shooting incident, and when the demo cameras were up, and we used it to success. It helped us solve that crime.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair. So how does that work in the sense, like, we scan a plate and we can then pursue a warrant based off that plate? Or, like, how does it work in the process to prosecution?
For prosecution, I
Or
would just, no, it would not, it just helps you identify
Okay.
something. I can put in there, let's just say, hypothetically, y'all, just like a robbery somewhere. We know that the description of the vehicle was a red pickup truck. We know the robbery occurred between, or at 2100 hours on a certain place. I can type in red pickup truck, and I'll surround that area. And if that truck, any red truck that went through that camera, it's gonna take a picture of it. It's gonna show it to me. It's gonna pull it right up. And hopefully from that, I'll be able to get a tag number.
Okay.
Because it's gonna take a picture.
So really it's identifying the subject then?
Yes.
So then you know who it is?
Yes, I can
Okay.
put in bicycle. And it's an outstanding system. Dog, you can type in dog, and I can put it, and it's
Can you
really,
find Pierre, please?
sir?
We need to find Pierre.
Yeah, no,
that's
gosh, no,
true.
don't.
So true.
Sorry, that was- But it's that kind of system, so
Okay.
it just helps to an investigative tool.
Yeah, I just
Great,
wanted to
and
understand the flow.
Then it leads hopefully to a tag number, direction of travel, stuff like that. And then possibly you can find it on another camera a little further, so it's pretty neat. LPRs are very similar. We use that on our mobile, going around and it's scanning tag numbers. Boom, this car is wanted on a homicide in Birmingham. We've had them from Atlanta, or something along those lines. When it's entered into the system, it alerts us as soon as it hits. Things like that, so.
Okay. Okay. I don't
Yes,
wanna
sir.
take over all the questions. What other questions does the committee have, or anyone have? And I will say, obviously, department heads go to the mayor and request certain things, and then there's compromises made, so obviously there was a lot more that was requested, but this is what was recommended by the mayor. So,
Can I make one thing real quick, sir? Based on what I'm seeing here, this is an LPR kit, so that should be an additional LPR that we'll be putting on the vehicle.
okay.
Yes, sir.
I do have one quick question. Down here on equipment communications capital, there was a prior year of 875, and then there's just nothing. So is that no communications capital purchases this year? Is that what that's, am I reading that wrong?
That's a big difference.
Yeah, I was about to say $875
Well-
to zero. See down, right above equipment.
The 77,000?
office. No, 875,000 is the number that's there, and then it shows 4-year prior, 14,782. I'm just curious what that was that's now zero.
I am,
Oh, that was for the radio system we put in 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
We just made our last payment on it in June.
Okay,
That's what that was. That was split between fire and police.
Okay.
It was it was $1.5 million total.
Okay.
thank you. Didn't know where that was.
Okay, and then you don't have anything for timekeeping in here now, do you?
We did try to put something in for, maybe under contracts for
Okay, I didn't know if
the,
that was pushed, that was moved somewhere else, or didn't
Yes,
know what
sir.
had happened to that.
Mr. Jones, if I could address that, they had requested some information, and the mayor had spoken with Chief Ross and myself, and we spoke with the executive time, if there was some additional training or programming needed in our executive time software. And they took
Okay.
out, that budget out.
Oh, got it,
of the
okay.
side.
Okay, thank you. There'll be,
Would it be,
yes, sir, I got it right here.
would it be possible, I guess, in the future, just so we'll know how many, I mean, it's not one of a lot of this. And I guess maybe you didn't know the number of body cameras.
Well, some of them are in the notes, sir. If you look down, if you look at the account, because to put a
Oh,
unit
yeah,
number,
yeah,
you gotta know
yeah,
a unit
Yeah,
price.
it's-
But if you look down in some of the notes, you'll see like, it'll say how many, it'll say, but the way we do it in the detail, if you don't have it priced per unit, you have to put one at the price. But sometimes in the notes, they tell you how many of it is.
Okay, I see what you're doing. Yeah.
It,
The notes are just so more, they're underneath all the numbers. You just have to follow the notes. We try to, if it's like 10
Yeah,
at
good.
$10, we try to do it that way, but sometimes you don't know exact the price per unit.
the prices fluctuate, so sometimes we do the best we can. But based on what we got info on, that will equip everybody that I was talking about.
okay.
If I may, like, the mayor asked me to talk real quick about the, this app that we were, gonna be going with, a notification app. I think it's gonna be a great little tool for us, not a little tool, it's a good tool, to us to be able to communicate when certain things are happening, certain areas, notify the public. Of course, the public will have to sign up and get it and put on their phone, but it'll be a great notification tool that we will have access to, that we will be able to control. We've looked at some other things that are out there countywide or this and that, and there's some interesting stuff, but we don't ultimately control what goes on there. We have to go to a third party and call, and then it goes out, and as we saw with the Hoover one, people were getting stuff down in Chelsea and this and that, and this will be strictly a Homewood-based app that will hopefully alert people that want to be alerted.
How are we
can also-
how are we gonna get the word out to people? Like, what's
Oh,
the
we'll do
plan?
it through social media, through the
Okay.
council, through anything we can.
Okay.
That it's out there when it gets done.
Okay.
We'll be able to put out all sorts of public service announcements. The normal stuff we do through AL.com or anything, just saying, hey, lock your doors, do this, it's holiday season, stuff like that. So it'll be a good tool that our PIO and others can access to get the information out to the neighborhoods if something's going on, that we want to try to warn them, shelter in place, blah, blah, blah.
Can we even do, like, I know Mountain Brook sometimes does things like road closures and things like that.
We
We
can.
can
There'll
do like
be a way,
traffic-related
yes.
things too?
Sure will, that we know about. I know they do stuff already through the
Right.
county system.
Yeah.
But anything should be available through that.
Okay,
This will be kind of at least initially, a police thing, but we do, for police and fire reasons, need to know when roads are closed and be able to put it out there. If there's a certain function or a parade even, it doesn't matter, we can broadcast it now, or will be able to.
Okay.
The only thing I was gonna add to that would be, communication system we have that goes out to the public. I'd like to see some sort of process flow documentation. That's not part of the budget hearing, but so that we know who approves what. And
Right.
the message is at least looked at by two people, because we don't want to communicate something errantly. Just maybe some context around what gets communicated.
Right.
I think that's-
Yeah, it will not be, I'm not trying to be mean, it won't be an officer-based type thing that if a situation goes down in particular, it will have to go through a chain of command. My guess would be command staff will ultimately allow the release of information. Certain smaller things might be on like a road closure. Okay, the We Love Homewood Day Parade is gonna be those things, but for certain situations, I could definitely see us coming up with a practice of vetting the information for sure.
And we already have the notification system now. Would it be integrated
Everbridge
with that?
Jefferson County.
And I know that recently, there was that suspect on the loose in
Hoover.
In Hoover.
Right.
And it was interesting. I read the background on that. It hit the antenna, with the towers for
Right.
Verizon, but not for AT&T. So if
Right.
you
It's kind of an interesting, that's why this system, I think, it will be.
will be better,
It'll be
yeah.
all us. It doesn't mean we can't use Everbridge for other things, and we do. We actually do use it, and I know Melody and them use it, and it's a good tool. But there's other,
Right.
other things that we can do better, I think, with this system.
Okay.
To keep people informed, I think it will be good.
Hey, I do want y'all to know on that Everbridge, we haven't rolled it out yet. I don't know if Chief knows, and Berkeley knows we haven't rolled theirs out, but we use just the text, the code, whatever to Homewood info, but we have a Homewood Police and a Homewood Park that they could text and park, and police could use for just themselves, but you are limited to the characters.
Right.
But I don't know if that'll work for them, but that is something that we have that's available.
We do use it, we do it through the fire department, like for our notifications of the TAC team if something goes out.
You know what I'm talking, you can do this out to the public, not the
Oh, I
internal
didn't.
Everbridge.
I've never seen that.
Well, because we haven't rolled it out to y'all
Yeah.
yet. You know how the Everbridge piece came out right when we were in the middle of the election? Yeah. The only piece that we rolled out so far, what's the guy's name that's from the EMA that lives in Homewood?
Jim Coker.
Yes. He came and we set up, there's like 4 or 5 different places that they can text and net code to. So if you want to be on Homewood Police, so we've been using Everbridge internally, we told y'all, for several years. Right. But the one we have going out to the public right now is the Homewood Info. Right. But they have one set up that we haven't rolled out for them that's police. That police could use and have somebody like me here at Homewood Info driving that out. That's already free and we have. I haven't been privy to what they're thinking about putting in the budget, and maybe Everbridge won't work for that, but if it will, we already have it. It's just a discussion y'all might want to have.
We met with Jim Coker yesterday, and he didn't mention that.
Well, he
We'll
did-
get
We
coordinated.
talked about
We'll
we
get
do have the
coordinated on
iPods,
this.
and we were, with that.
And I'm saying, I'll have to ask you, and it might, what we have may not work for them, but I didn't know, if they don't know that we have that piece set up.
Yeah,
That
well,
they
and we
can roll
can-
out an alert just like we do. So the people, if they want to be on the Homewood Police or the Homewood Park, they would text a different code than the Homewood Info. You don't have to be on every one of them, if that makes sense.
Right, like you don't have to do 777 or 888-777. You could do 999-444 or whatever,
Yeah,
whatever
but
that's
say-
different.
But again, I don't know if it'll do everything they want to do, so I'd have to
Right.
ask.
Well, and if nothing else, we can definitely integrate what's coming out from the app and make sure that it's going in both places. So if we're capturing different groups of people.
Well, it is. I think that with what the world, people want to see from us right now, the app is definitely going to answer those questions, I believe.
And this is only gonna be a thing like what I do, I'm limited to the characters, and I say road closing on this. But I just wanted y'all to know, when I saw that piece to it, I hadn't had a chance to get everybody talking together, that they were using it internally, but they didn't know we'd set up that thing for the external public to go to.
All right. Any other questions for police?
I did.
Yeah,
So I got a
there are lots
question
of good notes here.
on the Chevrolet Tahoe's line. There says 6 on here, but in the note it says 8.
Well, the request was
That was
8, but it was cut
Okay, it was cut to 6.
Yeah, cut to
So
6.
these are patrol vehicles, not
Yes,
the
sir.
leadership vehicles?
Yes, sir.
All of them?
And then
What-
2, yeah.
If a Tahoe is $60,000, what does a patrol Ford Explorer cost? Does anybody know?
I'm sorry.
Hmm?
A base
patrol-
Tahoe costs $33,000.
Right.
And it costs about $25,000 to put the equipment in it, where the police model Ford Explorer is about $28,000. There's about $5,000 difference in the the cost of the vehicle.
So you said 30, what was the price for the Tahoe?
I'm sorry.
The base price
33.
for the Tahoe is 33?
Yeah, the base price of, last year's base price of the Tahoe was 33 for the patrol
You said
vehicle.
27.
And the equipment runs about 25,000.
All right, that's just something that's been on my mind, because we need to find places to trim costs, because obviously our labor costs are extremely high in the city. And, you know, maybe long-term that's worth exploring, going to Explorers versus Tahoes.
The mayor did
No
change
pun
all
intended.
department
Huh?
head cars.
No pun intended. Huh?
The mayor did put in his budget this year, all department head, Tahoe requests are going to Explorers.
Okay, that's good.
When you get to the different departments, if it was any that was just for admin or department heads, they're all Explorers.
Okay.
If it wasn't a truck that somebody had to have. I
Gotcha.
think the only Tahoes, Mayor, that you put in there were for patrol, is that not correct? Robert, isn't that right?
Yes, yes.
The only Tahoes you'll see in there were just strictly for patrol.
Okay.
If it was admin or department heads, if they are Explorers now.
Good, that's good. Step in the right direction, right?
Mhm. So, anyway, I was letting you know.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. And Chief Hill, moving to Fire Department, page 12. And let me, okay. Uh-oh, God, we got everybody coming up here. Uh-oh, we're in big trouble now.
The police were easier.
Yeah, okay, so let me go over a couple of changes here, and I'm gonna try to make this as, thank you. You know, this is my favorite thing, the 20-year strategic plan. Okay, here are the changes that have been requested, so I'm gonna make these on your behalf, Chief.
Thank you,
So
thank you.
make this simple. What we're trying to get to is that if you look at the Tahoe vehicles down there at the bottom, the 27,000, what they need four-wheel drive vehicles with towing capability.
Correct.
So we need to add, so what we're going to do to get that funding, up here in fire admin office, the 50,000 for building improvements at the top, the 50,000 on the bottom, the fire admin office. This is what we already saved by going ahead and doing the flooring.
Well,
This
some
pa-
of it is for remodeling an office. So we're not taking out the whole 50,000.
No, we're taking out what we allocated
The
last
13
Monday.
The 13,000 for the
So,
floor, right.
so that's going to be 36,600.
For the fire admin
And then from the fire admin office, and then also they're going to take out another 3,500. So the request is 33,100. And tell me, Chief, if I'm wrong on this.
I'm sorry,
That-
Mr. Jones, that 3,500 is to come out of the Connex container. Be the
Oh,
fifth
okay,
line
the
down.
okay, so instead of.
It goes from
that
55 to 2,000.
To 2,000. So
Right.
that's where that 3,500 is coming. Okay.
We're back at 36.
So we're at 36,600 for the lower line item, and then the Conex from 5,500 to 2,000. And then for general capital, what line item are we taking the 3,000 from?
It's the same line item, it's just detailed underneath that.
It's
Drop
line
down.
8 under 589,300. There we're taking the 3,000.
589,300, we're taking 3,000 out of that, so that's gonna be 290,800.
The tactical medical equipment.
Yes, yeah. So
You got 114, where you want.
it's gonna go to 293,800, we're taking 3,000 from that, so that'll be 290,800.
Mr.
So
Chair.
hence, we're adding 6,500 below here. So this is a move, and I hope we don't have to do this for every department, because this is very cumbersome.
Which
So
one is
we're
it?
changing the 27,000 to 33,500 for the Tahoe
I got that, don't.
vehicle, so that you get four-wheel drive with towing.
Just point it.
So that, the 27,000 we need, we're adding the 3,500 up here, we're adding the 3,000, so it's gonna be 33,500.
Okay, here, I have another question then. Okay, so
That's for the flooring that's. gonna be
That's already been
installed.
taken out.
Oh, that was taken out for the flooring.
Yes, yeah, that's already been taken out,
That
yeah,
has nothing to do with the Tahoe.
correct.
Counselor Jones?
And actually, we're not trying to buy a Tahoe necessarily. If we can find a cheaper towing vehicle, we might go with a pickup truck.
Okay,
Perfect.
Four-wheel drive with towing.
yes, we
capability.
totally.
That was my
are.
next question, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
My question for you was under 58, or 59, 589, 300, which line do we remove the 3,000 from?
Line 8,
Line 8.
says tactical medical equipment.
There we go.
Tactical
Went to
medical equipment, that 3,000 is going to zero.
And actually, we purchased that already out of this year's budget, and we were gonna
Okay.
give it back, but
Okay.
then the price of four-wheel drive
That's all the
vehicle-
changes that I know.
All right, so do we need to make a motion
make a
for all of
motion
that?
for
Okay,
all of
I would
those.
make a motion to make all of the changes, taking the money out of the three top line items, taking the number 8 under general capital to 0, and then adding that money to the 2021 Tahoe chief vehicles line item, making that 33,500.
And the Conex container.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The Conex will go.
Yeah, I didn't get specific, I said
2,000.
those top 3.
Yeah, okay. So we have all, okay. we
And I'll
have all
second.
these. Okay, second. Moved by
Whatever
Mrs.
that
Smith, second by Mr. Harden. Okay, any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the same sign. Okay, 5-0.
Dr. Jones, just for the record, can I, since I'm not able to type to keep up with y'all tonight, I apologize. Can I just make sure I have it right for the record? When we're at 1215, 589,150, building improvements capital, we're taking the 50,000 line item part of there from 50 to 36.6, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, then we're taking the Connex containers from 5,500 and making it 2,000.
Correct.
Okay, then we're dropping down to 1215, 589, 300, equipment general capital, and we're making tactical medical equipment instead of 3,000, 0.
Correct.
Okay, before we move to the vehicle, is that all the deductions up above?
Yep.
And then we're,
That one deduction of 3,000 makes that total line item 290, 800 instead of 293.
okay, and then we're moving all those changes that we just did to 1215, 589,900, and instead of 27,000, that is now gonna be 33,
33,500.
and that's all we did right there? Yes, sir, thank you.
All right. Okay, now, are there any questions about some of these items? Yeah. And then this is your strategic plan for 20 years with all the equipment,
Correct,
with pictures?
correct. And it goes all the way to 2040.
Well, I'm not going to be here then, so I'll have to
Me,
I'll have to
me,
hand
me,
this over.
me either, but all
Miss
these guys
Andrews.
might be, so it's good to know.
There-
Well,
there's
and
a-
one
there's
thing
a-
too, I would make a comment
There's a
that.
fire truck salesman somewhere
Yes.
licking his chops.
Well, speaking of that, so, our last fire truck we purchased was $830,000. That was due to some things that happened before this administration. If you'll notice, the new fire truck is significantly less. And I think we can get a standard cab, not make it custom, get some stock items that don't need to be custom. And, we don't need the biggest, fastest truck around. We usually get a bigger motor because of the hill at Brookwood Hospital, but as far as compartment space, it's almost the same size. We think we can cut some money here and there, so we think we've done a good job of planning ahead.
Chief Hill, I know the other night we mentioned the possibility or that y'all were thinking about or had requested some sort of emergency response vehicle, like an ambulance type, right?
Correct.
That I'm just- Is that here or is that in a future?
So we put it in there just to plan ahead, and it's in the plan.
Okay,
But right now, the mayor is working with the county, and they have a consultant, and
Okay.
we're trying to see where that goes. We're not sure if the federal government's gonna produce transports for the whole county, and there's no sense buying one.
Right.
We have a couple fallback plans. We've talked to RPS. We may staff, they may put one truck here with just a basic on it, and then we provide the paramedic. It'll be at their base. It won't be in our fire station, but,
Right.
if we have a
Right.
call, it should cut down on the transport time.
right.
So we're looking at all avenues. We're just, you know, it's a crisis across the state of Alabama, not just Birmingham area, but,
Right.
there's just, I mean, if you listen to the radio, they come from Alabaster, Pelham,
Wherever.
you know, Blount County. I mean, it just depends on where they are.
Well, and it sounded like to me there was a problem because with all these folks getting backed up in the ERs and y'all have to stay with them.
Yeah,
when you
that's-
take them,
Right.
then y'all are, it's staff, causes staff backups. too.
So we affectionately call that wall time. And we call that wall time because you gotta stand on the wall with your patient because you can't be in the middle of the corridor, so you're on the wall. You don't have to really stay with the patient, but like I told everybody here, it's not realistic to think that we're gonna take a Homewood resident, drop them off in a chair in the lobby and say, hey, see you later.
Good luck.
We're gonna stay with them. I mean, it's just, that's the reality of it, which means we're gonna tie up our medics for hours. Usually if it's a BLS call, we can leave them with the RPS EMT. So if a person has a broken foot, they don't need a paramedic. So we leave them with the RPS EMT and we go retrieve our medic. We actually had so many calls the other day, I actually went to UAB and picked up a medic. So, I mean, that's just how it works.
So one question I'd have about that, do y'all track that time? So we know the cost of what it's, basically RPS's delays, what they're causing us?
We do. We have run times for the last 3 years.
Okay. So you could put a dollar figure per year of what we're spending on basically wall time?
Well, we don't always send a medic in.
Okay.
And that wall time, we don't track the wall time, no.
Okay, that's what I was curious.
So we don't track that. Once they get because we don't know when they actually get to the ER. Usually it's not that long before we go pick them up. So if RPS has a paramedic and we ride in with maybe, if it's a serious call, they're gonna go straight to the back anyway.
Okay.
Because we're only gonna ride in if it's a full arrest or something like that in the past. And going forward, person has a stumped toe, we're gonna go in, and then once we get there, we'll go pick up our medic and leave the EMT from RPS there with the patient. So-
The reason I ask is because long-term, or if we can validate the data that says our costs are higher by relying on RPS for transport, and I know you guys have probably done the cost studies, maybe we need to just bite the bullet in the next 2 or 3, 4 years and staff our fleet. And I know we're looking into that, but I don't want to have analysis paralysis, to coin a phrase, but
Right.
it'd be best just to go ahead and pull the Band-Aid off and go when the time
Well,
comes. Because
going forward, it's gonna be a problem because we're just not graduating as many paramedics as we used to. And the ambulance companies basically are a dead-end job. So anybody who works for an ambulance company that's a paramedic, if they're any good, they already work for a fire department. I mean, there's a few people who just love EMS and don't wanna work for the fire department, but there's no benefits, there's no career advancement. So most of the people who work for strictly an ambulance company either just really love EMS and it's part-time for them, or they don't meet the physical standards or whatever it takes to become a firefighter. That being said, that's gonna be problematic down the line. I actually heard that all of Alabama last year, we only graduated 88 paramedics. So, you know, I think it's multi-pronged. For another semester, you can go to nursing school. You get a nursing degree. And, you know, there's short nurses, so you make a lot more money starting out. So it's a multifaceted problem. I think too, based on some of the research we've done with neighboring cities like Vestavia, Mountain Brook, with the income they make, we could pay for the personnel. We're not ever gonna completely cover the cost of transports, but I think we can offset it significantly with transports, with the income. I think we can get somewhere between 650, maybe 700,000.
And is that just through insurance from the patients?
For insurance and private pays and stuff.
Yeah.
Most people have insurance.
All
Right.
right, Ms.
I
Sanders.
think you're,
Hold on a second.
Well, I was just going to see if the mayor wanted to talk about the Mayor's Association project that you guys were looking at, just sort of inform everybody about that.
Well, and that's Chief Hill mentioned it, and that's, we're waiting on them. So I think this talked about the fact that it's not just Homewood that's experiencing this problem, it's everybody around us. So what we're trying to do is, it makes more sense to make this a cooperative thing rather than each city have their own. So they're in the middle of a study. I don't know where they are on it right now. There's a Mayor's Association meeting tomorrow, so we may be able to get an update on it. But, and that's what Chief Hill and I talked about when we had our meeting as well.
Okay. Mr. Walton.
the last, yeah, just the last comment helps out all the questions. I think tracking that time that we lose for RPS or any other, dead time related to transport needs to be tracked, because then you start closing your gap. Maybe it does become a profit center. I've heard from other cities around the county that some of them have actually turned it into a small profit center, not a lot. And it doesn't need to be a profit center necessarily, but you can use that to invest in future vehicles or, additional training, whatever. So I think only comments, if we track that time, it may be good, because then having all the data in front of you to make a good decision, it may make the decision clear.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's my
The
question.
other thing, we're looking for other revenue sources, and one of the items in here is a Zoll upgrade, and that's for billing, not just for ambulances, but so right now, we can bill for wrecks on the interstate. So if we make a call on the interstate right now, we could bill, we'd have to do some paperwork, but we could bill insurance companies for that. So that might be something that we look at. And the other
Ms.
thing that we
Smith.
do is we do a lot of EMS runs.
Yeah.
We don't bill for those. We pay overtime. Well, I think the people who are hosting these 5Ks and 10Ks, maybe they should pay for the EMS services.
So like when
Um,
y'all go out to serve as the medical staff for a fun run, no one's paying for that?
No one's paying for that.
Okay.
So.
And I.
Well,
and I-
we're paying for it.
Yeah, well, right,
Yeah,
yes,
the
right.
people who are hosting that run don't pay for EMS services.
Citizens are
Right.
paying for it.
Well, and then, so tell me which municipalities around us, you don't have to tell me all, have their own ambulance?
Vestavia, Mountain Brook, Hoover, Rocky Ridge, and those are the all ones that, and Birmingham, which are all adjacent and touch our borders in some way.
Trustful does too, but I know they're far away.
Yeah, Trustful has one. Now, Mountain Brook does it in a unique way. They have one person on it. And then they take a firefighter off the engine or apparatus that makes the call with them. So it's kind of a trade-off. You're taking one guy off the fire truck. There are multiple ways to look at it, so if we were able to get a transport unit, put 2 persons on it, instead of having engine 2 down at Brookdale Place, tying up a whole fire company, now we only have 2 people tied up. And, the other engine companies still make that call. Problem is that you're gonna add significant personnel. To run 2 ambulances, you're probably gonna need 12 to 15 more people. So, can you cover that with the cost of the billing? I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, I have one more question. I'm
Sure.
sorry. I'm like Andy. Andy and I are fighting it out for who can ask the most questions. So you mentioned Brookdale. Do y'all also run the calls out to, what's the name of the one over on,
Skyline?
no, the one over on the corner of West Stocksmore and Lakeshore?
No, that's actually in Birmingham.
Regency. Is that it?
You talking about the one that's with the Church of
Regency.
Christ?
Yeah, by the
That's
Church of
actually in
Christ.
Birmingham.
That's, okay, so that's City of Birmingham. So is Brookdale the only senior living facility that y'all do calls to, or no?
No, we have Skyline Village, which used to be, I think it was the Ramada Inn, and then it was the Bell South Training Center up there on Goodwin Crest.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
You
all
go up
right.
Bagby, then turn right on Goodman
Yeah,
Crest to
yeah,
that
yeah.
one up there. So it's
Okay.
now kind of a senior living facility.
Oh.
It's not a
It's a
hotel
HUD,
anymore.
it's a HUD deal.
A HUD, okay, okay.
So-
And how many calls do y'all typically make to those 2 facilities in a week, or let's say?
Day.
In a,
I mean, that's.
Yeah, well, to Brookdale, 1 or 2 times a day at least. To
Okay.
Skyline Village, probably once every 2 or 3 days.
okay.
So-
Because I mean, I know my mom was at Mount Royal, and I know the Vestavia firefighters were there all the time,
Yeah.
at least once a day.
Exactly.
Okay, so that takes up a lot of y'all's.
It does, and of course, my personal opinion is they call us sometimes when they don't need to.
Yeah.
They market it as, we're gonna assist you, and then when they fall and they have somebody in the floor, they call us because they don't wanna pick them up. It's not that they shouldn't. So a lot of times we make calls that really
Aren't
we shouldn't be
necessary.
making. And, we're actually working on addressing that.
That's a-
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
that's
what I was
a-
about to ask.
Now, I was about to say,
Can we
is that something
That's a
y'all bill for?
discussion that the mayor
We don't
can
bill
get
for that.
into.
Okay,
Can we?
that sounds like something like.
I think they called
We
my
had a transport
grandmother
unit, we might
several
do,
times
but only
too.
if they transport. If we're just doing a lift assist, no, we don't charge them.
Can
Well-
we charge?
No.
We can? Can we not, can we charge these nursing homes if we maybe if we go there more than so many times per year or month, nothing like that?
So it's a tricky situation in that it's assisted living or even independent living, which is, in essence, they have their own apartment.
Uh,
So it'd be no different than us going to the park at Buckingham to a list assist as it is to, I mean, it's, the nature of it is, because they're elderly, you're just gonna have more calls.
Sure.
And there's just a lot of elderly people in one place. So,
Well, they're
some
also-
of them are actually warranted, some of them aren't.
They're transferring their liability to us, is what they're doing.
That's exactly right. And we've had multiple conversations, and it gets better. It's kind of like,
Okay.
you know, it comes and goes. You go talk to them, it gets better for a while.
Yeah.
I'm joining the question brigade. But it does bring up a good point when you mention about, you know, if we were to purchase transport, you guys get called sometimes within, you know, 20 minutes of each other. So what if you do have back-to-back calls? Would you just service one with the ambulance and then one the way you're servicing them now?
We would, but also we would assist, we would call them Vestavia, Mountain Brook, and Hoovermore, and then they could call on us
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. So we would have basically a cooperative, and if it works out, we may not need the transports. It all depends on what happens with this marriage association. I mean, we're just trying not to buy the cow if we get the milk for free, you know? I mean, it's kind of where we are right now.
All right. Good discussion, and we might have to have an ad hoc committee to go over all this.
And Ms.
to
Smith, I was
work
gonna,
with you
I was
to
gonna tell you,
figure
on
out.
page 13, I mean, it's not nearly the detail they gave, but on page 13, if you look on the very last note, anytime the mayor cuts something, we tried to put it above the department head note. You can see that they originally asked for 600,000 for 2 rescue units, and then we put on there that he's waiting for that to, for the Jefferson
Study
County Mayor's
release from the
Association.
Mayor's Association.
I was just letting you know.
Yeah,
Once we get the results from
Yeah.
that study,
then we'll determine, yeah.
The
exactly.
bad thing is that the notes don't print right into the line item, they print all the line items and then the notes, but we tried to put on stuff like that if they
Yeah.
cut a bunch of stuff.
All right. All right, are there any questions for the chief on any other capital requests?
Okay, the small, I know they look like gators. I'm just gonna say gator, that's probably not the, Polaris, sorry. What are those used for typically?
We use them for like exterior events. If we have a tornado, we take them with us. We put them in the command trailer, we take them with us so that we're not running vehicles through places that are impassable or through nails and stuff like that. The other thing is when we have an ice or snowstorm, I have found those to be invaluable because they'll go anywhere. And, you know, we can crash a $30,000 Polaris or we can crash a $600,000 fire truck to go pick somebody up. So the last time that happened, we actually said, hey, unless it's a fire, just stay here. And we put every SUV we had in service that was four-wheel drive, we had every admin car that was all, those Ford Explorers, they have their drawbacks, but as far as all-wheel drive capabilities in the snow, they're fabulous. I mean, we pick up people all the time, so we just grounded the fire trucks and said, if it's not a fire, we're not sending a fire truck. So we put the people in the Polaris, we put the people in the SUVs, and we make we can put 2 men in them instead of a whole crew, so we actually are able to make more calls, and when it snows, you actually have more calls for service.
And that ice storm
Yeah,
that
so,
we had,
yeah.
that Polaris was invaluable.
Yeah, so,
It
I
was
mean,
helping
it's
people all over.
right, so we learned that in the Winter Storm '93. I know some of you were here, and I was one of the few people here, but.
I was here.
Yeah, so, we learned a lot in that snowstorm. Matter of fact, I think Chief President had a Caprice Classic then, and after that, he got a full draft.
Right.
So,
Okay. Any other questions?
So let me make sure I understand. We've got $675,000 for a new fire engine when in the past it's been $850 or so.
8:30.
Okay, and
Yeah,
so you
830.
now believe that just by cutting back all these little special things inside the cab, that we can still,
Well, some of the things they did were like, they ordered a 12-inch, is that right, 12-inch I-beam? When you can order one with a 9-inch I-beam? I mean, how hard do you plan on hitting something? If you hit
Right.
something that hard, you're probably gonna be out of service anyway.
so
I don't
my
think-
point is you feel pretty good at that number.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Would it help us with the mayor having some kind of buyers cooperative among all the cities that we're all gonna, hey, we're ordering 3 of these this year through our cooperative of all the different cities and it's not
It
gonna
would
save
not,
us?
because they're not all gonna spec the same thing. Some people want a 750-gallon tank, some people want a 500-gallon
They're
tank, some people
specially
want a
ordered
water
Pierce.
pump, right.
Yeah, they're like.
Well, we've had we're not actually gonna stick with Pierce necessarily. If they win the bid, they win the bid.
Right.
If they don't, another company wins the bid.
Yeah.
I had a very uncomfortable meeting with EEP, our distributor, but, I'll tell you about that later.
Right.
But it's paid off, and EEP has really stepped up and serviced our trucks better than they've ever done. So I don't think all of it was EEP's fault. I think some of it was our fault by not communicating with our distributor. So I don't want to put it all on them. I think some of it fell on us as we were trying to do things we probably shouldn't have. So.
Right, okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Chief.
I got a couple more things. One thing, if you do approve the fire truck, we can come off some of the refurbishment money. And so that would be in the general fund, but we can cut some of that. And then unrelated to anything budget-wise, I did want to mention October 9th, and Ms. Andrews is already aware of it. I think she's going. The
Ms.
Fallen
Andrews,
Firefighter
October 9th.
Memorial is going to be in Tuscaloosa at the Alabama Fire College, and they're going to be representing Chief Breslin. They're going to recognize Chief Breslin as having been a fallen firefighter.
Oh, that's correct.
Lexi Breslin, his daughter's going to sing the national anthem. So, October 9th, right. And if anybody would like to go, contact Deputy Chief Broadhead. I'm actually going to be on vacation that week, so, but if anybody wants to go, just, I know his family's going, so.
Wonderful. That's a great tribute.
So, just wanted to mention that while we had a minute.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Moving on, page 14, court management. 0 request. I like those. Moving on.
I do have a quick question. I'm sorry. 'Cause
You
that's-
would ask a question about this
No,
page.
0 requests. There's no request, but I still have a question.
Hey, I want to spend something here, right?
No, this is actually something that was already budgeted, but I sincerely am wondering about this. Did the ATM ever get put at the court?
Yeah.
That is not a good subject
did
to
not.
bring up.
It did not. So there's no ATM there, despite the fact that we budgeted and selected someone to put it in.
Yeah, he came back after the contract was signed and sent back to him. He came back to the city wanting a large amount of money for a monthly fee, which was not in the contract. So John Morgan basically canceled that contract and has been looking for an alternative. We really can't find an alternative because it's not something that's gonna get used a great amount. So no, there's, like, Bryant Bank's not willing to put a machine there, or Regions. So
Right.
right now, it's kind of a, John's
He's
having
in
to
the
say
process
credit
of
cards
looking,
or
trying to
go
find
to the bank and come back.
So who are those companies that do the ATMs that are like in convenience stores? You know, every once in a while you'll see a convenience store with an ATM, and they're just kind of like random. Who knows where they came from ATMs? But I'm like, where are those? Who are those companies?
Yeah, we have contacted just about exhausted everybody that we know, but
Okay.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
You'll see them in grocery stores, or,
Yeah.
you know, stuck off in the corner of a mall somewhere.
Right.
But, I mean, it's not that we can't get an ATM, it's that we don't want, I don't think
We
we
don't wanna
should or
pay a
can
fee.
use city funds to pay to have
No,
one
no, no,
place.
no. Well,
I think that deal was too good to be true.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
the whole time.
Lack of.
And, you know, Jefferson County does have an ATM in the courthouse. So,
They probably have a lot more people going through there.
but there are a lot more traffic coming through there, yeah.
I think he's got alternatives. I mean, he does accept credit cards for fines and, of course, cash, and this, right now with those that they're having to just leave and go to the bank and come back, from what I understand.
All right, good question. All right, page 15. You're gonna love this.
Berkeley,
You're gonna love this.
a new
All
trash
right,
truck.
he is, here's a change here. What's needed more than the garbage truck? So the first request is to take out the garbage truck, the 192, 346, take that out. But there is a need on the next page, on page 16, for tear down old citation court. So to really replace that 192 with 205, 205,000.
Well, let's take it out of the budget somewhere. That's
Yeah.
$13,000. We gotta
But-
get it back from him. that does need to happen. I appreciate
Well, and I,
Mr.
yeah, and I
Squires
would,
putting that out there, because I think it just doesn't, it
Well,
looks bad.
we got a hold of a contractor that's kind of, he's not in between jobs, actually starting another one, and he can haul off the material cheaper. And this takes it down, he'll regrade everything, and, I mean, the building pretty much now is in disrepair. I mean, the back part of it's collapsed in, so I mean, it needs
It's
to
in
come
bad
down.
shape, yeah.
And we use it, you know, as a lay-down yard for, where now we don't have to take our clamshells and run back and forth to the dump. You know, we've got the rollbacks in there, and we have 4 of the 30 cubic yard bins, and they just offload into that, and they go back on the route, and then the off-road driver goes back and forth to the dump with it. So
Right.
it's a great area, but the building's just gotten to a point. So, I mean, the last company we had to look at it was almost $400,000 to tear it down. That wasn't to grade it, that was just to tear it down. So.
All right,
this-
so we're taking out the entire.
taking out the one, yeah, the 192.
Yeah.
So we're gonna keep using the 1994 truck?
No, those two, we've got a 94 and a 97 that are our backup trucks. You know, and then after that, everything's 2013 or newer.
Okay.
And so we're in pretty good shape. We had believe it or not, the 94 is actually, it's probably the best one of the two that's left. And also, the 97, we did put a new transmission in, so they get used not very often, maybe once or twice a year right now. So, you know, I told the mayor, I'm willing to swap this time because that building really needs to come down. So, you know, if we
you
get
could-
into a pinch, we may have to come back, but I don't think we
If
will.
you'll get us a
I think we're in
20-year
good shape.
strategic plan
Yeah,
for
I-
the garbage trucks.
Yeah.
You could use some of those high mileage Tahoes to pick up trash.
Yeah, and
Right.
also,
So, Berkeley, are we thinking, do we need to put some kind of slat fence around that? I mean, it really, we ask others to keep their property
Yeah.
looking nice.
I would tell you right now,
Have you looked across
my
the street?
plan is by the time we could get it down, John, it was to come in next year and repave it and fence it in.
Okay.
Most of the stuff over there, I'll be honest with all of you, has not been touched since probably '84 and all. And so a lot of that stuff over there, we've been doing some things along. We had to put a new roof, as y'all remember last year. We've done a few things inside. I've got some money in here, I think 30,000. We're gonna start replacing some doors and doing some painting, but that building really hadn't been touched since mid-'80s. And so what I'd like to do is this year just get it down and get it, you know, leveled off, and then next year, you know, just kind of take it, you know, maybe our thought was doing a 5-year plan with the outside structure of it, and, you know, just kind of budget through a 5-year period to redo some of the fencing and stuff over there and redo some of the asphalt and all that. So that was kind of the thought process, but the first thing was just to get the thing down. And I'll be honest with you, you know, for $205,000, you can't pass that up, because I mean, even the one that we got before, that guy was probably about the cheapest we're gonna get, and it was $395,000.
All right, so we're taking the 30,000 that's here to 205.
Right.
That's a.
Yeah, 205.
Actually, no, that's not 30, the 30,000's actually, we're doing
It's
some
a
painting
zero.
and some
It's
doors.
where it
Oh,
says
it's
zero.
zero.
Yeah,
Zero
if
would
you
be
go
zero.
down right below it, the tear down old
Yeah,
citation,
got it.
it is
Okay,
zero,
I
but
know, we almost need
Same
lines on
thing,
here.
I
It's
scratched
hard.
30.
Okay, so we're going from 0 to 205.
Correct.
yes.
But we're moving
But
the
we're losing
192.
192.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to take the vehicle capital line item down to 0, and then increase the tear down line item for Old Citation Court to 205.
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Mrs. Smith, second by Mr. Harden. And, Ms. Melanie, you got all that?
Got it.
Okay, good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the same sign. 5-0, those 2 items pass. Okay, any other questions on
I have a question.
sanitation? Yeah.
Well, this may not be the spot for it. I was gonna ask about the leaf sucker trucks. Our friends in Hoover have foregone that service and gone to bagging. And as much as our stormwater drains fill up with leaves and as many times.
If you remember, the actual ordinance for the city of Homewood states that you bag.
You
your
had supposed to
leaves.
bag them.
So.
Our ordinance already,
That's in place.
that was long before our time, I think, for even, I think Walter Beach, senior member, that was for his time.
Yeah.
They started the leaf vacuuming for whatever reason, but they did. But our actual ordinance states that you bag your leaves.
Is there any
So,
thoughts about discontinuing the leaf sucking?
and I mean, you know, all of our machines are old. I mean, they're, you know, Old Red probably won't make it this year. And also, and it's, you know, those are the ones that they made back then were really good. I mean, and I think it's a 94 model, but I mean, those things are built, I mean, if people, the biggest problem we run into is most people, whether it's them, their neighbors or whatever, is they'll throw stuff off in the piles.
Yep.
Well, that thing's got enough torque pulling through, it shoots it through there, and then it's a brick or something like that, where it breaks the fan blade or locks the motor up or whatever. I mean, and that's the biggest issue you run into with vacuuming leaves. And, I mean, it's a time-consuming thing. I mean, you know, having one run through and just pick up along gutters is one thing, but, you know, and I mean, look, it is what it is, but, you know, people I mean, you know,
all
some of the
kinds
guys
of
will stay 2 hours on one house, you know, getting them, you know, vacuumed up. So, and then, you know, of course, when it rains, it prolongs it after that because of
The streets are a mess.
you know, it's just one of those things. I mean, I don't know very many cities around that vacuum anymore because it's not very economical.
We're
to do it.
unique in a lot of ways.
And have we
Yeah.
talked about, because I know you and I have mentioned that was one of the thoughts about the cooperative.
Yeah, that's
That
one
that
of,
might be something that we could.
yeah, that's one of the
transfer.
things that we would look at, you know, along with the recycle
Right.
is farming that out, you know, because they do have, there's some of the companies that still, they do that, but I mean, they could, you know, they're big enough, they can throw 6 or 8 machines and go through in, you know, a week or so and be done, and all. I mean, ours is, again, you know, if you have people that are out, you know, you can go from 3 vacuums to 1, just like that. I mean,
Right.
you know, last year when COVID hit, we went 4 weeks, we didn't run a vacuum.
Exactly. And then you've got the schedule on the website.
They're
you
always
can
delayed.
find and-
And, you know, and let me say this, you get, during the rainy season, you get 3 or 4 days of rain, we're not vacuuming for a week, because they ain't gonna pull them up that good. I mean, it's just a mess, so, you know, I wish more people would, but unfortunately, I mean, it's kind of one of those that, you know, you get started doing it, you know, it is what it is. I mean, and I understand, there's some people that can't, and I'm, you know, I totally understand, but if we continue with that service, it's something we're gonna have to look at equipment-wise moving forward. Because it's 3 people on a machine. I mean, on a truck and a machine. You got a raker, you got a guy running the suction, and a driver. So you got 3 people on, you know, if you've got 3 out or 4 out, then you've got 9 or 12 people that's all they're doing all day. So,
Okay.
Can I ask a quick question on that subject? Hey.
Sure, yeah.
About the leaves, because all of my neighbors who can bag their leaves do not. So is there any discussion about trying to get people to actually bag their leaves this fall? Or are we just over that?
I mean, you know, when I first came aboard, I think David McAsh and them had put out some little flyer things asking people, but most everybody just blows them to the road and.
We don't want to enforce any kind of
You know,
ordinances?
I can't do anything. I mean, that'd be up to how you guys would want to approach it. I mean, you know, like I said, I mean, it's the ordinance. It states it in there that you're bag your leaves, but, you know, I think in my opinion to you, the leaf vacuum would be in emergency type situations that, you know, smaller type things like that, but, you know, again, that would be y'all's call and the mayor's call as to how y'all want to approach that. I don't really have a great answer for you, because, again, it's one of those.
But some cities have trained everybody to bag
Well,
their
most
leaves.
of them have never started the vacuuming. I'll be honest with you, that's the biggest part, is most people have never, you know, and
Take
my.
away something someone has.
Well,
Yeah.
Hoover just did. I mean, Hoover took out, they were
Yeah.
doing suction and they've just
They
gone
had
over
a
to
little
bagging.
bit of it and all going on, but, you know, my thing is if you really wanted to look at it, was say, look, we're gonna do it through this year, and after this year, we're gonna discontinue the vacuum and go strictly to bagging.
Well, I would say start communicating this fall through the newspaper and other things, because, I mean, unfortunately, it really is a big issue related to the stormwater
Oh, it is.
issue.
People don't realize the issues that, and I'd say this, I mean, for you and Andy, and probably, I would think Ward 4 is pretty, those areas there, we have the most storm drain blockages with leaves and stuff out of any. You
It's
know, because
absurd.
it's heavily wooded areas and stuff like that, so I mean, you get a lot of that, but, you know, if you guys wanna do it along with the mayor, that's, again, y'all's decision, but, you know, I don't think we take it away right now. It's, look, we're gonna do it through
Maybe-
this upcoming leaf season, but, you know, beginning next fall, October of 2022, that, you know,
Yeah.
you're gonna bag.
Maybe we could start some sort of communication with the
and
newsletters at least,
Go
or,
from there, ever how you guys wanna do that, I mean, we can, you know,
I will say this, we can definitely do that, but in my experience, we've tried to communicate a million ways
Yeah, I
to
mean,
Sunday about not putting plastic bags in your recycling, and people do it every
Yeah.
single time, and our contamination rates are sky high despite all the things that we've tried to do. Sometimes people are just like,
I mean, I would say this, yeah, you know, we can, you know, I can have my folks can go door to door and,
city decision if we
Yeah.
want to try to go to bagged leaves or
yeah,
not.
just put a thing on there and say, hey, look, you know,
Every door saying
after
we're
this
not
year.
bagging.
Next time, we're not gonna,
Yeah, I mean, if it's out there, it's not getting, you know, I mean, and that's what most cities, I mean, it's so much easier, because, I mean, if you bag them, we can get them right then. I mean, you call us and I got, you know, we got one floater truck that can come by and pick them up right then. And that's what I tell most everybody, look, if you bag them jokers, I promise you, by this afternoon or first thing in the morning, we can get them. And
Right.
So it would be very helpful and all, I mean, and again, that's, you know, even doing what Ms. Andrews said, I mean, there's a cost associated with that if you know, get somebody else to do it, I mean, and, you know,
we-
bagging them's really the most sensible thing to do. I mean,
We could even probably have enough money in our budget to give everybody a box of bags.
yeah, I mean,
Here's
the
your leaf
environmental
bag.
side of it would be wonderful because of the storm drain issues that we have and all. So, I mean, you know, if the citizens would grab a hold of it, it would be wonderful to do. So, that would be my suggestion, would be to, let's take it through this year and get through this year, and then, you know, next year, you know, whatever way we need to put it out there, you know, between now and then, we can communicate that. Whatever y'all need us to do from my side, we'll do, so.
all right.
Paint the side of the leaf truck. Expires
Yeah.
2021.
Yeah.
All right.
Big red will be glad.
Okay, any other questions on this one? We've made those two changes. Everything else looks good. All right, and you'll be up in a minute, but
Okay.
I want to bring Ms. Fowl.
Yeah, that's
She's
fine.
been so patient.
No, she fine.
So let's go to library, page 17. You got some exciting things.
It's
Tell-
exciting to us.
Tell us, just tell us in general, I love just kind of getting an update. How have we recovered from COVID in terms of the number of patrons? How are we looking?
We're not back yet, but, cause, you know, we were getting there, and now we're not having a lot of people doing meetings. We have the rooms available, but we hold each, meeting to their own, you know, idea of social distancing or whatever, because we can't really enforce it, but we're just not having a lot of people use the meeting rooms right now. And we've slacked off we're doing in-person programs, but we're doing Zoom as well, and we're finding a lot of people like the Zoom programs still because of the numbers going up. And we're doing a lot of storytelling outside in the new courtyard, which has been great. They're out there every day with kids, so that's pretty safe. But the Kiwanis and the Rotary's meeting regularly now. And we decided to cancel our dinner theater that we were planning for October because it's mostly seniors that come to it, and it lasts 2 to 3 hours, and I just didn't want that many people in a room together, you know. I thought it might be better if we wait till February to try to do the Valentine one, so.
Okay.
But it's coming back. I mean, the books and everything's circulating good.
Okay.
And we do have people coming in, they're using the computer lab a lot, but,
Well, hence, you're getting how many, 50 new computers?
yeah, well, we're on kind of a rotation, and we didn't do it the year of the pandemic, so
Yep.
we're kind of catching up with that. We like to keep current on the software and everything, because once they start getting out of date, nothing works right, so. But then the other is just kind of basic maintenance that we hadn't done. We've replaced most of the carpet in the building with carpet squares, except for our adult services department. And we
Okay.
put some real expensive carpet in there in the 90s, Prince Street, and it was real high quality, but really it's lasted real well, but it really looks old now. And
Okay.
the paint in there is multi-spec paint, which they don't really do that anymore, and it's hard to touch anything up with that, you know, when you get a bad spot on the wall. And then there's a lot of wallpaper in there that's real dated, so we need a lot of just, you know, sprucing up.
So is it, I see $150,000 to do the adult carpet, that seems way over the top, is that?
Well, it's an estimate, but it's the biggest area, and we wanna put carpet squares in there too, and it may not be quite that much. But I wanted to make sure that we had enough. There's a lot of different areas that have to go around all that shelving, and it's just a huge area. Now, some of the, you know, we've got little quadrants, and we actually have recarpeted a couple of the little quadrants, so it may not be this much, but it's the biggest one area in the building. And of course, if it comes in lower, well, I'll just turn in the money. I just wanted to make sure I had enough to do it with.
What is it for Wellness Deep Freeze?
That is, now let me see if I wish I had Brooks here, but anyway, I think that is something that he uses to copy the software on the different computers, and I'd have to ask him for sure, but I think, you know, it works with the security of them, you know, because our computers are filtered, so it makes sure that, and I can get you exact explanation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll get you, I'll send you an explanation tomorrow, an
Yeah, we didn't
exact.
think you wanted 50
Yeah.
freezers.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Mr. Gwaltney.
It's an application that basically wipes the computer when it reboots.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
when the
there you
patron
go.
leaves,
Yeah,
it
it's clear.
clears it out.
Yeah, dumps all your cookies, dumps,
Yeah.
you know, anything you download on the
Yeah,
desktop.
like at a
We-
hotel.
In a previous life, I'm familiar
Yeah.
with that software.
Okay. Well, I'll just say you have always had a very, very tight budget, and I know that if there are things that you're not gonna use, you will give back to the city, so that 150, I mean, if it ends up costing 100 or 90 or whatever, yeah, I
Yeah.
know that.
We will. Like I said, we like the carpet squares. We've used them throughout the building because if we get a really bad stain on one, we
Yeah.
can take up a section
what's great about
and
it.
put it back
Right.
down.
Yeah.
So that works real well.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure anybody will ever use real carpet anymore.
Yeah.
The squares are fabulous.
Oh, yeah, they are. And, well, used to, when we first started using them, after you got them cleaned several times, the ones you replaced it with didn't match. There was a little color deviation. You could tell exactly where you put the new ones in, but we found in recent years, they match perfectly, even if the carpet's been cleaned a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else that you want to share with us, or any other questions?
No, the staff's doing good. We've done real good up there with COVID. I think, I'd say 80 to 85% of people that come in are wearing masks. And like I said, the kids' story times outside have worked great in the new courtyard. And we've got kind of like a little amphitheater set up, so they can all be outside, and I think it's a little bit safer and everything. But circulation's going good, and it's going up all the time. A lot of people are using our online e-books and things now. I mean, that's definitely increased since the pandemic.
Okay, great.
So you said things have gone back, y'all are headed back to normal. Are y'all back to normal business hours as
Yeah,
well?
we're
Okay.
open. We've been open regular hours since July 7th.
Oh, good.
But
Oh,
we're, like I said,
this year?
yeah.
Okay.
And we're open till 9, you know, Monday,
Yeah, Monday, Wednesday,
Monday,
Friday.
Tuesday, Thursday, and 6 on Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and 2 to 6 on Sunday. And like I said, the computer lab's busy, but we're not seeing people use the meeting rooms as much as
Right.
before the pandemic, which is probably normal.
Got it. Okay. All right, well, thank you for all you do.
Okay?
And taking care of everyone, and I think that's it for library, so thank you.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Look at Berkeley again.
All right, Berkeley, come on back up. Park and Rec, page 18. making good progress here. So, no changes that I see, that you've got a lot of cardiac equipment.
Yeah, that'll replace, we've done some last year. Most of that stuff, believe it or not, it's hard to believe, but most of that stuff's 7 years old. And the lifespan on most of that stuff's about 5 or 6 years. We've kind of, Rusty and I met and talked. We've got a few pieces that people don't really use, so we're gonna actually trade those in and add a couple of extra recumbent bikes, treadmill, and additional elliptical, and then the step mill has become one of the bigger ticket items in there for us, so we're gonna add a couple more of those in there. So most of the stuff, usually they allow it, the company we use, they were ones that they're on the bid list, so we actually do a trade-in with them. And so that's normally what we're looking at getting on the 16 pieces, normally about 115 to 120,000. So with our trade-in, we'll get some, but we're keeping a couple of pieces, and we got a couple of the bikes that are in pretty good shape still that we're gonna move over to the senior center and onto their little workout room, so they'll have 2 of those over there, So other than that, I do have one change on the water fountains, Dr. Jones.
Yep.
I've got 2. We had to go ahead and replace one because one of them, the whole base of it has split over time, which they were put in, back in '04 when the thing was done. So you can take the 10,350 and go down to 5175 on it.
Wait, before you do that, can I ask you a question about water fountains?
Yeah, I'm sure you're gonna ask the same thing I'm gonna ask.
Lakeshore Trail. We need water fountains on Lakeshore Trail.
No, that's not what I was gonna ask.
I knew that wasn't gonna be the same thing you had.
All right, let me go first, and then I'll, and this relates to City Hall as well. So are you looking at the water fountain where you can put your
Yes.
your bottle underneath there?
If most of you are familiar, the one that busted is the one that's over by the restrooms. So we just cut it and took it out, and we actually mounted one to the wall over by the restrooms, and it has the water filler. And we pretty much, in the community center, we're retroing all of those to have the water fillers, and that's kind of where we're headed with just about all of them.
And I'll just mention that, like, Mayor, the next time that we need to replace these, maybe we
Yeah.
can, replace them with that, because
Yeah.
that's really helpful to.
Yeah, that one now is actually, if you're standing in front of the restrooms, mounted on the right wall right there.
Okay, so that your request to take that 10,350 down to 5175,
Well,
unless Miss Andrews needs,
Yeah.
seven.
If-
About to spend that money.
If she wants it, then you just have to leave it, so I'll have to replace it. Whichever one of those she wants to
That's what I was
replace.
gonna say, the Jemison Trail, they put in, they've got the, you put the water bottle,
Yeah.
there's a 3 thing, you put
Yeah.
the water bottle in, you can drink
And
out
the
of it as a
dog
water
one.
bottle, and the dog
Yeah,
fountain.
that's it.
And, they're great, and so, if we could keep that in there and
Okay.
replace one of those water fountains on the Lakeshore Trail.
That's fine, we can do that.
I do. I do, yeah, I know, but it's because it's hot. Yeah. I mean, I'd like it, and so the one that's over by Target, it's got the 2,
Yeah.
and then one of them never works.
Yeah, it busted several years ago. We replaced the parts in it twice, but even the guy from, thing came by and looked at it, and we can't get it, so it needs to be redone as well. Yeah.
Is the one?
I was trying to save a little money there, but.
Okay, so no motion on that, we're gonna keep it, we're gonna keep it like it is.
Fountain have Patriot working right now? 'Cause sometimes, I don't know, I went through.
Yeah, it should be.
Okay.
Now, we had to replace the trigger valve in it, but it should be working.
Okay.
If not, I hadn't heard if it, usually I get a phone, I got somebody over there that lets me know if it's not working, so I hadn't heard, so I'm gonna say it is, so. But it's one too that we'll probably take it from there and mount the new one to the wall with the water filler, so we'll do those. We try to do a couple each year as they get older and all on there.
And I had a question.
Yeah.
Was it hard to replace the springboards? I would just think there are not many springboards even out there.
There's only a couple of companies left that actually do them anymore.
Okay.
And all.
Okay.
And, over time, with chlorine and stuff, I mean, in that bend area where they go, we've got some cracks that have started, and, when you
Got
get
it.
inspected,
Okay.
you gotta
Okay. Yeah, I
do
was
them.
just
So
wondering.
the starting blocks were, we were gonna get them refinished, but it was $33,000 to refinish 16, so I could buy all new ones for 39.
Wow.
So we just decided to go ahead and buy the 39, and I mean the
starting block.
The 16.
6, 8, is that? I gotta look, figure
I mean, excuse me, it was 8,000, I'm sorry.
8,000, yeah.
It was on the, to do those, it was 6,000 to refinish them,
Okay.
which is just putting
Just
another
get
coat
brand
on them,
new,
but
yeah.
they only guarantee it for, I think it's 2 years, so
Okay.
it was just easier to go
And you
about
got the roof in
replacing
there.
those.
Yeah, I was about to say, the new senior center's getting a new roof.
Yeah, that one, those flat roofs, I mean, if you get 15 years or more, you're doing extremely well, and I think we're on year 17 or 18 now, so. But we've got one area we've patched twice now, so we're just trying to get to October 1 to get it redone,
Is
so.
it costing you about $5 a square foot on that? Is it a
Yeah.
single ply?
Yes.
Rubber,
Mhm.
Firestone kind of roof,
Yep.
trocal?
Yeah, same, it's basically got the same roof that we redid over at Citation on that building over there, and all. Other than that, we got a stand-on, we didn't do a zero turn this time, just replacing one of our stand-on mowers. And those are, you probably see most of the people in the medians. One of those is to help when we finish Green Springs. They'll use those, they're easier to maneuver them in those little tighter areas like that. And then brush cat, that's kind of it's a tool that goes on the front of the Bobcat, and we actually can use it on ours as well as the one that's over in the street department. So I can go in different areas, kind of clear out, it kind of clears out underbrush and stuff like that. The one we got's probably 20 years old, and it won't fit on the street department one at all, so it was just to update that one.
And I would like to say, and I'm sure Jennifer would say this too, thank y'all for cleaning out under the overpasses on
Oh,
the
yeah.
trail. That was fantastic. I mean, literally, we were there one Sunday, I was like, God, this needs to be cleaned up. And then
Yeah.
we were out there on Tuesday, and I'm like, it's cleaned up. So thank
Yep.
y'all for doing that.
Oh, you're welcome. Other than that, that's all we had this year in there,
Okay.
so.
All right.
Speaking of the trail, the Lakeshore Trail, when a big flood comes,
Yeah.
it's a mess.
Yeah.
Is there any short-term, cheap solution for that?
It's,
I
it's in a
mean, redoing the
floodplain,
whole
so.
ditch, I guess, the whole Shades
Maybe-
Creek?
Yeah, I mean, when it floods there, there's nothing you can do. It's in a floodplain, and it's
It
going,
is,
what most people, we try to go with the backhoe and get as much wet mud off of it as can, and you basically have to let it dry for almost, 2 weeks, and then we go out there with the brush.
With a shovel
And,
on some of
and
it.
start doing it with the brush and sweeping through and trying to get as much to the problem is eventually we gotta come in and, get some of that silt from the side taken down. That's what the issue is under the bridges. There's so much silt built up under there, and it's hard the biggest problem is it's hard to get up. Jay that runs the backhoe, Jay's about the best one we've seen, but he can get pretty good distance up in there, but there's so much that you gotta pull out. And it's just that issue right there is never gonna go away, unfortunately. So not a whole lot else you can do. It's just, we try to explain to people, once it rains, we let it set, and we take the backhoe and usually go out early one morning and kind of peel it back, and then if we can get dry weather for about 7 or 8 days, then we can go in with the brush and sweep it. So that's really about all you can do in most of those areas on it.
Okay. I know the answer.
So,
All right, any other questions? Okay,
thank y'all.
okay, we're gonna move to fleet maintenance. So we got natural gas, diagnostic, Altel scanner. Any questions on this page? Yeah, I didn't have any questions on this. Any?
Did they not change the, did they not change that one? Did they not have to put on that?
What's that?
The one where they took out.
I mean, like what
Down to becomes in.
what is fleet maintenance, is just maintenance cars?
They didn't talk about on that, right?
It's Fort James's department, that's over there behind the police department, where they
Yeah.
service all the.
City vehicles, yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
If we go back to park, we need a vote on reducing the water fountain.
No, we're not.
No, we
We
don't.
did not reduce it?
No, because,
buy us 4 water fountains for that $5,000.
We're leaving it.
We're leaving it, we're
Okay.
leaving it, we're not making any changes.
Berkeley says he can get 4 more water fountains for that.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay, moving on, page 20. traffic light maintenance. And was, Mr. Hambley coming?
He didn't make it tonight, but I did talk with him. The increase in the equipment traffic signal capital.
Yeah, that was my one question that I
Yes,
had.
sir. That is for the preemptive traffic lights for the fire department. There's 10 intersections he's going to outfit. When the fire truck approaches, the
Push the
light
button.
the light will direct the fire truck through. Y'all might could explain that. There's 10 intersections that they're going to outfit.
But we've also got, I wanted to know about controller upgrades and signal upgrades. And have we had those?
That's what it is. It's on that preemptive,
Well, the preemptive, isn't that
That's a
the
different
46,000?
oh, yes, sir. I thought, well, that's the increase in that one line item, but it's my understanding it's for 10 intersections?
Yeah, so it's a program, police and fire and all emergency response, that allows us a green light from the station to the call. So we have a lot of choke points and trouble areas such as Central coming onto 18th, going down Green Springs where we're putting the medians in, that the cars can no longer split. So what this system does is it puts a GPS tracker on our emergency vehicles and it routes us to the call. And what it does is it changes those lights ahead of when we get there. So it monitors our speed and everything, and by the time we get there, the company has guaranteed us you will get a green light for every red light between you and the call. That'll save us significant time getting there. Also, it's gonna take out a lot of the liability through running through intersections, emergency lights. This
we
is
get
just the
those in
first
our
phase
cars?
of it.
Can I have that on?
Yeah, it's always been a question.
This is just the first phase. These are the 10 lights. Once we get that in, we'll come back next year. These are the 10 major intersections that we've identified, a couple on 31, Central on 18th, down on Green Springs. And it'll probably take us most of the year to get these up and running. Next year, we will request units for the trucks and probably some additional red lights.
Okay, but I'm still, and this is not your department, obviously, so that's the 46,000, right?
That is 10 units at $4,600.
So I'm just trying to figure out what are we getting with the signal upgrades and the controller upgrades? That was kind of what I was trying to.
So for the 70,000, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. For the 70,000, are we linking lights, or are we?
No,
What?
Jones, I think he's replacing some of the control boxes and stuff on some of the lighting
Okay.
systems. And in my brief conversation, because I know we're dealing with it down near Homewood Court and all down in there, where that one got damaged from the tree, right there off Oxmoor, where the tree took those out. I think he's upgrading some of the signal boxes, if I'm not mistaken, on some of these, because I don't think some of them have had upgrades in years.
Well, what we have been talking about, and what would be a great addition, is the light that's at the top of 18th Street and Oxmoor Road, has the, what is it called, Mr. Smith, where you can turn left, it blinks yellow?
Well, I'm thinking of a passive, but,
You told me the term, and.
I don't remember right now.
Okay, well, that technology is what we need all over the city that will help, because there are so many lights that are red when you're in the turn lane and there's nobody coming.
Nobody.
So what I'm trying to figure out, if it's not in here, I want to figure out what can we do to upgrade some of the signals to duplicate what we have. I don't know that we have another one in the city. There might be one, but at the top of the hill, going down Oxmoor is really effective, because you have clear visibility, you can turn left. And so I just want to figure out,
I tell you, the lights out along Lake Shore at Sanford are the same problem.
Well, but those are ours.
Yeah, those are states.
Those are outside.
yeah, that's the
you're right.
state.
I'm
So
sorry,
it's,
you're right.
I'm whatever. And I thought they were going to put that in where you turn on to 65 off Oxmoor Road, but they did not put that type of signal in. But I see it all over, when I travel, they're all over the place, but we have one. So I'm just trying to, yes.
So to speak to what Berkeley was talking about earlier, about the controller upgrades, I think what he's got in there now, you can't time. And so what he's putting in there it's more adjustable for signal time.
Yeah.
So instead of sitting there for 30 seconds, you might sit there for 20 seconds or whatever.
You can adjust the timing.
That's right, which is gonna be beneficial. I think some of these are going in at Salter, or some of them have already been installed,
Yeah.
but he's gonna install some more. He has installed them, I think, in Salter, and it'll help when we do the RTOP when AlDOT does the RTOP project through Highway 31, they'll be able to really time seamlessly to get folks from Pelham all the way up 31 through Birmingham.
I think some of the old controllers, well, you only had like one or two options of time limits on there.
Yeah.
And I think with this one, it actually, you can sync with other lights that are on there, and it gives you, like Cale said, it may be 15 seconds, it may be 20 seconds, 25, but it gives you the capability to interwork with maybe just say you're right there, you stopped at the pig on 31, you may go back one to Almond Hill, and those two can kind of talk to one another to do that. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's kind of what he's looking at, is
Okay.
replacing some of that stuff.
Okay. I just think we could really improve traffic all over if we were able to upgrade those. Okay.
I think
Any other questions?
The worst one is the left on the Poinciana off of 31 going
Yes, you sit there
Oh,
forever,
God.
and that could also be a blinking.
That's a fat.
Yes.
I will
Ms.
say,
Ann.
I met with Kale and I met with AlDOT about the RTOP that they're talking about. And so we sat there for an hour and went through each intersection through Homewood on Highway 31. So they're looking at all of that.
Good.
We talked about closing access, how there's a big accident ratio where Huntington is in that area. We talked about shutting Salter and Old Montgomery Highway where if you're coming off of Salter, you have the light the whole time. And then you come off Old Montgomery Highway, you have the light the whole time, so you're not fighting each other because they're offset there. We talked about a crosswalk at Ventura. What else did we talk about, Kale? A crosswalk at Mayfair. Can you remember what else we talked about?
We talk about every intersection.
Yeah, with each. And we talked about a yellow flashy light, like what Ben Sutton and I tried to do a year or so ago. We talked about that on 29th.
Oh, right there, turning on 29th.
Turning on
Yeah.
29th,
Y'all
yeah.
had wanted that.
Yeah, so we talked about not during high volume, we can time that, so when it's high volume areas, yeah, exactly, but like 7 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the morning, that kind of thing, so.
Right.
All right, well, the good news is here, our current budget for that line item is 45,000. He has spent year-to-date 22,407, and we're budgeting 116. So I hope we utilize all that funding to improve the situation. So, okay, any other questions on count 22, page 20? All right, moving on to page 21. We have one item here. It's a vehicle to replace a van that is 6 or 7 years old. So that's the only capital request for maintenance department.
Where, Mr. Jones, what happens? We've got that van, we might sell it for whatever we sell the existing one. Where does that come into our budget? I know when we do it and we vote to sell stuff and stuff, but.
We surplus items, if they're vehicles and such, we put the money back into capital projects. If it's smaller desks, file cabinets, items such as that, we'll put the money as miscellaneous revenue back into the general fund.
That's right.
So
Okay,
can I ask the question?
Any questions or changes on this? Yes.
Question.
Yes, sir. Mr.
Why do we need a van to maintain City Hall?
I think it's for him to go pick things up and.
That's,
He does all the
He does all
buildings
of it.
across the city.
Okay, so he does other buildings too, just make sure,
I
because,
think what the plan is actually Lee will roll his down to, to Matt, because Matt's driving, y'all remember the old, I call it the Robert Forget, the old white van, Astro van that the library had.
Sketchy
I
van?
love that old van.
Yeah, Robert used to ride that thing, but I think the plan is actually, because I think that thing's like a 92 model or something like that, but is to roll.
It's still the best city vehicle in the city though.
But I think he's gonna roll his van goes, I mean, he does all of the stuff at the citation, the fire stations, police station. I mean, Lee, pretty much, him and Matthew do all of that. I think the only ones they don't serve, but I still think they have the library as well.
So-
That's, to answer your question, that's what he does with it.
That brings up a good point. You mentioned the Astra van being an old vehicle. Every time I drive through that parking deck, I see a city vehicle with a municipal tag on it covered in friggin' dust. And it drives me crazy. So one thing I would like to see is, I'd like to see an accounting of the mileage for every vehicle we have in the city each year is driven. Because if we really need to save money and find ways to be more efficient as a city, we need to go to pool vehicles. So people can share vehicles. We can track the mileage for that vehicle, track who's driving it via their fuel cards, and if they have a PIN assigned to them.
Right.
I think these are important things to make informed decisions about our fleet, because fleet's a big expense with lots of employees. Everybody thinks they need a vehicle, but they really don't. So how can we get that data on all the vehicles we have to see the mileage they're being driven every year?
Gordon is required by DOT to keep very detailed records of whatever a vehicle is serviced, the mileage on the vehicle, so I'm sure he
Even
has that
on
available.
below 26,000 pound vehicles?
Every vehicle that the city
Okay.
operates, he has very
Can we get-
meticulous, detailed records on.
Can we get the mileage? Can we get it in the specified as much as how much it was driven in the fiscal year? Or
I don't
maybe
know if he keeps it
calendar
by
year?
year, but like, for example, if a vehicle's in the shop, he will note the date, the time, the repair that was done, the mileage on the vehicle. I don't know if he does it on an annual basis, but he does it on the life of the vehicle.
So I guess two things I would like to see. Yeah, I don't want to know if I'm the only one. I'd like to know how many vehicles we have in the city. I'd like to know the average age of those vehicles and the average mileage. And I really would hope that we can get to the point where we have the ability to look at each, have a spreadsheet, look at those vehicles and say, we have an Astra van that sat in the parking deck and didn't get driven but 4 times last year for 200 miles. We don't need that vehicle anymore. We don't need to maintain it. We don't need to pay insurance on it. You know, and maybe a pool vehicle that's shared by multiple departments is the way to go. We need to start blurring the lines. We're a city, we're not individual fiefdoms.
Mayor?
Yeah, so I wanted to comment on that. I have asked Chief Ross, because most of the vehicles that are down there that are not being driven are police vehicles, the Dare
Okay.
car, things like that. One of the old Chevy Caprices that we still have on. So I know he was working on getting those surplused.
Good.
And then,
Stop
and
paying
I'll
insurance.
be glad to ask Gordon to give us a record of what the fleet looks like and what the mileage and everything is, and report that back.
That'd be good. Thank
So,
you.
yep.
Just, I see lots of vehicles and it just
Well, and, I mean,
concerns
if you
me
look
every
at-
time I see them.
I mean, Wyatt's crew with the inspectors, I mean, they don't necessarily have their own car, they have a pool that they
Yeah, and I
use
didn't mean
from-
it necessarily in the parking deck. I mean, there's
Sure.
across the city. It's like,
Sure.
there's a lot of blue tags floating around the city.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I get you.
sorry. It's
No, no,
Pet
good.
peeve item of mine.
Good question. All right. Moving
Oh.
on to IT,
I'll go back to it.
and we've got computers, 50 new computers.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
And this
Yeah.
is more personnel. Who's in charge? I know, I asked this the other night, and I ask it again, because I believe Robert and Melody are splitting the IT duties currently. Is that
Well,
correct?
we're splitting the reporting responsibilities that was coming out of IT.
Right.
That's required for our ACA compliance, Jefferson County personnel payroll reports. Melanie's assumed a lot of his emails that he was receiving on electronic billing.
Okay.
So the administrative function we are handling. Justin and Reggie Justin's doing a lot of the technical aspects of anything that's being downloaded onto our systems. He's having to do that as the admin.
Right.
Melanie's assumed administrative responsibilities with Encode. I've assumed administrative responsibilities with ExecuTime. So it's been being divvied up.
Yeah,
But as far as the technical working aspect, that's still falling on Justin and Reggie.
But now, I thought Reggie worked for the police department now.
He is primarily responsible for the equipment that's going in the vehicles, that's correct. But now we've called Reggie and got him to do some stuff for us as
Yeah.
well.
But so y'all have some additional responsibilities that y'all didn't used to have.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the one that we're struggling with, to be quite honest, is the payroll report to Jefferson County, where I am 2 payroll periods behind. I'm communicating with them, I'm letting them know.
Yeah.
I let them know of the situation
Right.
that happened with James, and he was assisting in doing those reports, teaching me how to do those reports, basically. But that's the one where that I need to devote the rest of the week to get to them. There's some more responsibilities there, but we're getting it done.
Well, yeah, but y'all have lots of other important things that y'all should be doing too. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Burgett on IT?
That's like a oxymoron, really.
Had James gave you these quotes before he left?
Huh?
Had James already gave you these quotes?
We got security cameras. Where are those going?
Yeah,
Does
that's
anybody know?
They were for the lobby of City Hall. These have been replacing those periodically.
Okay, got it.
And in the parking deck.
Got it, okay. All right. Moving on to finance, page 23.
You didn't ask for anything for us, Robert.
You'd have a small capital request with that encode, but I know that this has been, I think this is the 3rd year we've carried
Yes.
it over because
Yeah, they tried to implement it last year. We put them off because of executive time, and now we have actually started the implementation. We've been providing them information, and they're basically ready to start the process.
okay. It's gonna be, tell us what we're gonna get from,
We're upgrading from version 9 to a complete new system where it's much more user-friendly, it's much more efficient in the way that we could request information from it. Everything is going to be cloud-based, be stored off-site. We'll have faster access. If Brandon's still here, he can explain how we'll be able to remote in and work. Because right now, the process that we're using, we can remote in and we can work, but it is extremely slow. I mean, like push the button to enter something and wait 15 to 20 seconds. It's that slow. But they're looking at being able to remote in and work as efficiently from a laptop as we do from our current desktop. Which, as you know, last year there was a couple scares of just being able to be here and get our job done and get payroll ran at times. So that'll be a great upgrade for us. All the reporting functions are more efficient. The software that we use with ExecuTime actually was written for version 10, so they will integrate better together than they're currently doing now.
okay? Any other questions on finance? We are finished with that, capital requests.
May I finish one small comment about fleet real
You
quick?
may.
I wasn't done.
Oh, okay.
So, I know I'm not saying anybody cut me off, I just didn't get my thought out. On the vehicles, do we have the capability via the current gas cards that are in the vehicle to track who's driving it and what mileage? Like when they go into a gas pump, are they typing in their PIN number and the mileage of the vehicle?
Yeah.
They are?
The way that the cars are now, the cars are assigned to a driver with a PIN number, but they're not assigned to a vehicle.
Perfect.
So you put your PIN number in and whatever mileage you want to enter. Generally, the mileage that's on that vehicle, that's the way it's currently used.
So you can see who's driving what vehicle, when they're driving it, where, et cetera?
No, sir.
Not where, I don't, Where does it matter?
The only information we get off our card now is
Driver
the
mileage.
driver purchased, how many gallons he purchased, where it was purchased. You do not know what vehicle it went into. You're coding a mileage. Like for example, my vehicle, you can look at my history, and basically every 300 miles, there's a fill up of gas.
Yeah.
But I've also have taken the city clerk's car and put gas in it and filled it up. So you don't know, you can't tie it to the vehicle, you could tie it to the driver.
So I think there's a simpler way to do it that I would like us to explore, and maybe it's just me, but the ability to use a fleet card that is assigned to the vehicle, and then everybody who is an eligible driver in the city has a PIN number assigned to them, 6 digits, whatever it is. And when they go to get gas, the card stays in the car, and then they can drive whatever vehicle in the city they want. They pull up at a gas station, pull the card out, swipe it, they plug in their number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then they also are required to enter the mileage. So we know 3 things there. We know who's driving the car, we know the mileage of the car, and we know where the car's going. I think those things are important as we assess our fleet.
That's really, I think, how it's supposed to work. It's just that, because we have a PIN number on the back of my card. So I have a fuel man card that technically should, I guess, stay in my city Black Explorer that I drive. And we do have to enter the mileage in fuel man, to go to a fuel man.
Is it, because it, like.
But you can
fudge it.
You can put a mileage and it'll still accept it, it's not gonna know.
Right.
You haven't to put the right, but there are times, which we can, under the system we have now, order another card, like say we now have an old fire card that we have for the city clerk's office that it's not assigned to me, but my staff can use it.
Sure.
But right this minute, it still has the fire department, we have to give that card back to them, so it wouldn't charge their budget. So when my staff needs to use it to go to the post office, I have to use my fuel man with my ID, but I put that mileage on the red card. So you
Gotcha.
still know it's Melody and it's my fuel man, and it's obviously not the Black Explorer because it has a different mileage difference than the other. But we could, I guess, maybe use the thing we have, but say, okay, you can't use, that Melody's gonna have to have 3 cards issued to her for whatever many
No.
cards my department or something like that. I
No, it
don't
wouldn't be 3 cards. You would have a card per car. This is what we did at AT&T, and it's super effective. I could go in and run a report for my entire team and see everything. I know what they're driving, and I audited it every month, so I could also know who's going where and be like, hey, Charles, you didn't drive that much last month. What's going on? Or, hey, you drove like 10 times more than you normally did, and I see some fill-ups at places
You go
I
to the
normally
beach?
wouldn't expect to see. Exactly. You see some fill-ups that places they shouldn't be getting fill-ups at.
He'd follow you.
I'm not a micromanager. I just believe in using the data that's available to make sure that we're doing the right things and making the right decisions.
Well, just so you know, there is a driver, my PIN number is everything, his PIN number, and you do have to enter the miles. So if he does take my card and he uses his card, he's gonna have his ID, but it's gonna have a different mileage than the Blue Explorer that he has, so to speak. So you're gonna realize that he didn't have his regular card, he had mine.
Okay, but let me ask you a question.
One thing, Andy, you gotta remember too, is, I know for like my department, I'm gonna have X amount of pickups. Well, they may not have a whole lot of miles because.
Yeah, I get that.
I got one guy, but I'll keep that truck 15, 20 years. Because I've got 2 people that go to all the parks each day, cleaning bathrooms, picking up trash, changing out trash. Well, those 2 there's 2 trucks that are, I think one's a 07 model, one's a 2000.
With 10,000 miles on them.
Yeah, and they probably don't have, but we do hand down ones that, as they get age on them and stuff like that. Like mine, I got 90,000 miles on mine, like my guys that are on call that come in, theirs will ramp up more miles, but we'll take that truck and put it down into the fleet and use it for like a maintenance truck.
Well, I'm not so much worried about the mileage per se.
Yeah.
Because I get it. Like the engineer that had Copper Heights right across from the AOC, he complained because we had 12,000 miles a year, and he's like, I'm driving 4 miles across the street.
Yeah.
So it became a pool car, so we all drove it, got the mileage up, but the mileage isn't an issue. It's really, to me, it's just making sure that we have vehicles and we're making good informed decisions, and we have the data to make those decisions. And I guess my last comment, and I'll get off my soapbox, do we have a vehicle policy in the city?
Yeah.
For the use of the vehicles?
Yes.
Is that somewhere I can get my hands on it? Because I'd like to read it.
It's in our, books in the handbook.
I've recently sent them all to the insurance company so I can forward them
Okay,
to you.
thank you.
Each department
Has their own.
Has their own policy, correct.
Yeah, and I think it'd be helpful, read that over and determine if we have the tools in place to do what you're requesting. And if we don't, then it sounds like we would need some type of fleet maintenance type system, but we might have all the tools at our disposal.
Guarantee
If
that
you,
exists.
if you can
Yeah, yeah.
check on that, that'd be good.
Yeah, I just want to flip through it because my goal, and I'm not going to be shy about it, is to reduce the number of vehicles in this city drastically, because there's a lot.
I mean, truck drivers today, I mean, it's like Big Brother. I mean, their corporations know how fast they're going, they know where they're going.
My vehicle has a GPS on it out there right now. They know everywhere I go.
Right, right.
Real time. I mean, you shouldn't have any expectation of privacy when you're not driving your own
Are they gonna wanna know why you've wasted 2 hours at City Hall?
Oh, they all know I'm here. Trust
No,
me,
I'm just
they're
joking.
calling.
We have not wasted time.
Just
Yes.
real quick, I texted Gordon James, and he said he could get that information for us.
Okay.
It'll take a little while to compile it, but.
There's no rush. I just,
But he'll get it.
Yeah, good. Well, okay, we're gonna end right there. We've had some great discussion, and so we've got some follow-up items. But I feel like everybody has brought up some good ideas on different things, and I think we're making great strides. So what we'll do, let me ask everybody, would there be any possibility to meet at 3 on Thursday and get out at 4:15?
I can't.
You can't, okay.
I've got a 3:30, I'm not sure what time I can be here.
Okay. We can, yeah, we.
Could we
the
move
parade
it
is
till
gonna be going
after
on,
the
so we were
parade?
Trying to have it before the parade got over here.
I can't be here after.
It'll be a pain to, I understand
What if we moved it to Monday at 4?
That's good.
Monday at 4.
What's the first meeting Monday starts at 5, which is yours, correct?
Yes.
I can be here Monday.
We
So
write
we're
down
gonna do,
Monday.
we're gonna do committees?
Yes.
Personnel next?
Yeah.
Okay, that shouldn't take very long, so I would think 4 o'clock would be fine if everybody's available.
Okay, 4 o'clock.
It really shouldn't, I mean, it's.
Yeah.
There's minimal changes.
And then we will meet, we'll see what all else we need. We need to go over all the other funds probably on Tuesday of next week, but,
You still got you still have extra day that you said.
yeah, we have an extra day, and then we also, I build in a buffer on the Monday of budget here, and we have had meetings on that night, but I don't want to do that. I want to get this thing finished. So,
Do you want me to change the public notice tomorrow from?
yeah, change the public notice, so we're going to cancel the Thursday meeting
Okay.
on the 16th, and we're going to move that to the 20th from 4 to 5.
Okay.
And that'll be organizational. That'll be employee funding matters. And then Tuesday we'll meet at 4.
Yes, sir.
Then we have Thursday.
And then we have Thursday at 4 to go through all the other funds and all that. That should be enough time. Is everybody good with that? Okay. With that, we're continued.